El del Patriota. Mel Gibson. Are you Mel Gibson?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes. El del Patriota.
Hello. Happy almost New Year's. The painting is Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth. No, not highball whiskey. I'm just having a Stambecco Negroni, mixing it up a teeny bit. Bonjour, au soir. Hi. What are you doing down here? Crying? I have not played this at all. I've heard people recommend it. I still don't have the proper audio mixing shit for this mic, so if you hear me tippity tapping, sorry. Uh-oh, COVID-19. No, Mr. Hayden Tank. Thankfully, I'm not, that I know of. Once is enough for me. All right, I'm gonna get going here. Okay, so I think this is RPG-ish. What do we got here? Operator. I'm gonna say I don't like the kerning here. See how this happens though? This is what kerning is for. Because a wide A letter form like this, it's coming up against the T shape, which is very wide. But like, you know, should be over a little bit. I'm not going to nitpick, I'm just saying. Okay. An operator works with drones and high-precision remote machines to perform complex tasks from a distance. Sleepers assigned to operator work are usually cerebral and precise people. There's a lot of crying going down here. What? Come up here. Come here. Headbutting? All right, we're gonna have to wait a second. It's probably in the font, unfortunately. All of a sudden, it's crying time. You're feeding Sesame a sausage so she can take over the Abbey. Very good. She's already taken over this house. What are you doing? Sesame, what's happening? All right. I think I can multitask here. We'll see. Perk, transfer, intercept. Chance to gain cryo on interface actions. Engineer, work with machines and physical tools, 0. Interface, work with digital interfaces, +1. Endure, -1. Use strength of will. Strength or strength of will. Hello, Merton. Intuit, approach problems with awareness. Engage, approach problem head on. Interesting. Extractor. Extractors work on resource extraction, often in hard vacuum environments. Sleepers assigned to extractor work are often confident, self-sufficient, and have a high level of endurance. Cool. Thank you, Sertia. 90-mile hike? Or 90-kilometer hike? A 90-kilometer hike? That's a lot. Yeah, it is pretty early there. I don't have my GMT watch on, so I was unaware. But yeah. 55 miles, yeah. I think the most I've hiked in a day was 24 miles. What are you doing? What do you think about that mic? Thank you, Dilschmel. Oh, you're leaving? All right. Well, go. All right. What a baby. Okay. Sunbathe dice action allows energy recovery at home. What's the terrain like, Merton? Yeah, red type is kind of... This is a little desaturated. And yeah, it's pushed more toward, I would guess, pink. It's in a color area that I'm not... my eyes can't see very well. But right? Right. Uh-oh. I just realized I'm interfering. I'm casting a shadow. Hey, everyone. I'm going to play like this now. All right, hold on. Let me... I'm still, like, this thing... Like, I can't... I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to figure out where this should be. Oh, the QA tweet. That dude, he sucked. Honestly, that dude sucked. He's like, there were a whole bunch of additional stories that other people probably remembered, but like every time I got a bug from him, I was just like, come on, man. The guy complaining about randomness. All right, I'll tell a little QA story here before we get into the game. No, so it's not that there's like a guy complaining about randomness. You know, I think maybe... God, what is the issue here? Hold on. That's... maybe that's better? Yeah. Okay, this is kind of... Alright, I'm gonna... No, that fucking sucks. God damn it. Alright, I'll try this. Randomness. So, there was a guy who... There have been many people over the years who ask about the RNG in RPGs specifically. So most of the games that I've worked on have some element of randomness to them. Icewind Dale, Icewind Dale 2, Neverwinter Nights 2, Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 all have RNG, virtual dice, things like that. And at some point in development, typically QA, someone in QA or a group of people in QA will say, which is quality assurance, they're testers, they're very important. But inevitably, on every single game, somebody says, I think the RNG is wrong. I don't think the RNG is working correctly. And there were two instances of this that I particularly remember because they just like wouldn't let it go. One was on Icewind Dale 2. So we switched on Icewind Dale 2 from Backstab, which is 2nd edition, to Sneak Attack, which is 3rd edition. And Sneak Attack is a number of dice that gets added. Backstab is a multiplier. So you roll, let's say it's a d8, you have a longsword and you backstab, you roll a d8, you multiply it. So if it's a ×3 multiplier and you roll a 4, hey, it's 12 damage on the backstab. If it's a ×5 multiplier and you roll a 7, then it's 45. Wait, no, it's not 45, 35. 35 damage, base damage, and then things get added on top. That's an even distribution across the die range. But Sneak Attack is more dice, so you're adding more d6s. And it caps out, I think, or at least in Neverwinter 2, Icewind Dale 2, it capped out around 15 d6. So you roll 15 6-sided dice, and the max there is 90, I think. That is if you roll 6 on 15 dice, 90. And so one of the testers, or actually a group of testers, said the RNG is broken because when I roll 15d6, the average, it's always like some 50 to 60 points of damage. And I was like, yeah, because you're rolling 15 dice. And they said, well, I should see 90 sometimes. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you're rolling dice until the end of time, then yes, you would. But they didn't understand. They just didn't understand probability, I guess. And I wound up arguing with them for a long time. And then I went into their office and I sat down with 15 6-sided dice and a pad of paper, and I rolled 15d6 100 times in front of them. And then I added them all up and I said, like, do you notice anything here? And charted it on a little graph and say, like, yeah, this is how fucking dice work, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This is how it works. Do you get it yet? Can we not talk about this anymore? So then, long story short, many years later, I was at Obsidian and we were working on Neverwinter Nights 2, and it came up again in the context of Sunburst, I think. And not Sunburst. It was it was a high-level druid spell. Anyway, they wouldn't let it go. And I'm like, guys, I've been down this road before. This is very silly. Stop talking about it. And they wouldn't. And so I brought down Andy Wu, who I believe still works at Riot now. He was working at Riot at least a few years ago. And Andy went to MIT and had a degree. He had a master's in recombinatorial mathematics. So basically like this. And he came down and they just fucking would not. Were arguing with this dude. And he very patiently kept arguing, like saying like, no, and explaining. And then they thought that they caught him in a gotcha where they said like, well, hold on, my druid is 25th level and my averages are this, and I should be doing 25d8 damage. And Andy said, no, read the spell description. Your max damage, your damage maxes out at 20th level at 20d8. And the average you got is in line with that. So you're also wrong about that. Anyway, I love QA. These guys were just being very annoying. Anyone can be annoying. They were just the people to be annoying that day. All right. I'm going to have to figure out something to do with this. Hello, Niwamaksu. Yeah, playing tabletop wargaming will teach you the averages skew towards rolling ones. Just it's the dice will teach you. Like if you do it enough, you see it. Good QA. Well, one, it depends. Good QA follows testing plans. The testing plans have to be established by the lead QA. They're very important. Following testing plans rigorously, make sure that all the basic stuff gets caught as quickly and easily as possible. And then most of the time when people are doing more like freewheeling playing, good QA are people that play the game in unusual and different ways to do things that are kind of unexpected, because with thousands or tens of thousands or millions of people playing the game, you kind of need the testers to do things in an unusual way to catch those weird things. And then the other thing is that writing very good bugs. And when I say writing, we're writing them well. So good QA writes a bug very clearly and with very specific steps to reproduce. Devs are usually pretty bad at writing bugs. I'm not that good at writing bugs, but when a bug is encountered, they say exactly how they got there and how you reproduce it, because when it goes to a dev to fix it, they need to be able to reproduce it and find it. So anyway, here we go. Extractors. So endure. So these are tough guys. Are there just two here? Oh, wait, no, okay. Machinist. Ooh. I've not played Vampire Survivors, but I've heard a ton of people say that it's great. Machinist repairs and modifies automated systems and industrial resource extraction. Sleepers assigned to machinist work are usually diligent, careful, and structured people. Chancing in random scrap item on engineer actions. That sounds interesting. Hypothetically, I'm assuming you mean hypothetically, Apple fetish. If I'd sign in to make an RPG on Unreal 5, how difficult would it be to do in terms of creating the needed RPG systems on that engine? I mean, we've like the same as Unreal 4, I would say. Like, I don't think the Unreals are that different from my perspective. Like, they're all equally suited or not suited for RPG stuff, which is to say they don't really, they're not particularly well oriented towards RPG stuff, which isn't unusual. It's pretty normal. So yeah, I don't think Unreal 5 would be particularly rough for things having to do with, when you say RPG stuff, like dialogue or skills or perks or anything like that. Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know, I kind of like, I'm going to go with Extractor. I like the idea of this vacuum boy. I'm an Extractor. What does an engine need to do RPG stuff? I mean, arguably data structures and interfaces that allow for the creation of a huge number of game, like all the crunchy RPG assets That's kind of one of the things that I look for is, like, we're going to have 5,000 items, and they're not procedurally generated. They're all, like, handmade items. But, I mean, it depends on what you're talking about in terms of RPG. They're fine. It's fine. Unreal's fine. Unreal is fine for making RPGs. Again, which is to say, no middleware engine that I've used is particularly well suited to making RPGs. So, all right, I'm going to move my. Let's see. Are mod tools really hard to develop? People always ask for them and most time don't get them. It's work. Like, it's a lot of work. I wouldn't say it is hard, but you have to understand that when we're making a game, we don't get all the stuff in for the game that we want to get in. Like, all the features and things that we want to do for the game that we actually ship, we don't get all that. So if on top of that you say, hey, I know that you're not getting all the stuff you want for the game, but what about mod tools? Which is like an enormous amount of work to support. And then it's also complicated. It depends on the engine. Like, Unreal and Unity both have been particularly not super, like, they're not super well geared towards modding, which makes it more difficult. Bethesda's engine and their tech is very heavily oriented toward modding. Do I know how Bethesda prioritizes mod tools? Yeah, by doing it 20 years ago. Right? Like, you put the investment into doing that stuff a very long time ago, and then you keep doing it. Like, if you had to recreate all that stuff from scratch, like, that would be a huge nightmare. Alright, I'm going to play this game. Unknown, where are you? The first thing you become aware of on waking is the disconnect, the delay between thinking and feeling, between wanting to act and acting. Minor, almost imperceptible, but always present. It's at its worst when waking, when yourself has spent many dark hours recalling what it felt like to be real, to be a person, to be in a body that was indisputably yours. Let us think upon that body. A leap into a cold lake on a hot day, the sting of blood welling from a fresh wound, the friction of a fingertip. All of a sudden, the memories are closer than you thought, blurring as you approach, and you can't tell one from the other. The cold slips in, behind and around you, and the sensations fade out of reach. Perhaps you should be thankful for the dulled nature of this new body, given your current circumstances. The walls of the container feel immediately present, cold, hard at your back and face, cramping your limbs. Oh, I don't like that. You resist the desire to stretch, knowing that the claustrophobia comes next, and retreat a little from your central nervous system. It isn't painful. Not like you used to know pain, at least. In emergency mode, pain is a message delivered with efficiency and ease, a reminder that harm is imminent. There is no insistent throb, no trembling nerves, just a warning delivered with the banal quality of a digital notification. Right now, there are thousands of them. Remember the plan? I'm going to remember the others. You remember there were 10 of you, 10 that could no longer stand the indentured work, the routines, the slow decay. 10 whose belief in their promised future was slowly dismantled day by day until they realized they had sold away everything that could and would ever matter. 10 that would escape, or at least die trying. Some were lost in the shaft. Others never found the meeting point. Only a few made it to the containers, but the freighter, as far as you know, left. That feels like enough. Enough to know that you might no longer be on that grim and heartless rock. Even if, in the airless hold of a freighter, you might freeze solid long before you reach any destination. Let's wait for the cold. That's all there is now. It has been a long time since you left. Surely weeks, maybe months. You are dully aware of damage to your legs, your right arm. You have been reserving energy as much as possible, but your body has still needed to shut down many of its systems to protect you. You have spent much of that time asleep, knowing that anything else would be impossible to endure. You feel the weight of that impossibility begin to gather. It is time to sleep again, to nudge this false body into inducing delta waves in your emulated mind, and once again recoil into a dream of when you were once a person. Thank you, Akira. Congrats. And thank you. Thank you, the Rain Dog. Let's rest. Time passes. The cold creeps further in. You feel something. Warmth. Not true warmth, but the indication of its presence. Your joints release from their rigor. Sound, too, everywhere, screeching and shimmering so loud that your body ducks your hearing to protect its sensors. Then light. White as the cold, softer and softer, until in a haze of dirty yellow a figure appears. You are out. Dragos, pragmatic salvager. Can I do anything? Oh, okay, I can zip and... Look at this, zipping and zooming. Some little dudes floating around. I do want to know something. How good are you at writing dialogue? I don't know. I mean, I wrote, like, I would guess in total maybe a third of the dialogue in Pentiment. So as good as the things that I did there. We're in space. It has been a few hours since Dragos pulled you from the container. You sat huddled in a corner of his scrapyard, swaddled in the reflective folds of a mylar blanket. You are slowly coming back to consciousness. Back to life, and you stare at the ornately curving element of an improvised heater. I did write arcade. Look at this little guy. You are surrounded by angular, incoherent lumps of ships, some corroded beyond recognition, others still carrying glassy wounds along their edges where a plasma arc sliced them apart. As you trace their shapes with fogged eyes, you hear a voice. So, sleeper, you all thawed yet? Sure. Almost. I did not write Caesar. John Gonzalez wrote Caesar. Never seen one of you come in like this. New frames must have better perseverance in sub-zero vac. Seen more than a few of you frozen solid to hull plates or inside outer locks in my time. They weren't so lucky. Sounds like a skill issue. Guillaume Singelin. Sounds good. Yeah, the character art looks really good. Dragos comes into focus, shrouded in makeshift tech. His headset with its glinting eyes, the mark of a drone operator. On his shoulder is one of his symbiotically linked drone perches. Its irising eye locking you with an unflinching stare. Last living sleeper that came through this yard was a while ago. They didn't last long. You struggle to read his expression beneath the tech, but he seems lost in memory for a moment. Or perhaps he is just figuring out what to do with you. Oh, what happened to them? Oh, he did the art for Lancer? Nice. Thanks, Precision Gamer. I don't have a lot of contact with John Gonzalez. He did write to me to congratulate me on Pentiment, and I just realized I forgot to write back to him. Ooh, baby! But yeah, like maybe once a year I hear from him. Not that much. I did also write Joshua Graham, yes. He ignores your question. I won't ask what led you to do it, to sell yourself to a corporation. And I suppose you know you can't go back. Your old body, that's theirs now, and you're just software. A rogue emulation illegally possessing corporate property. You nod along. You remember biometrically signing the forms, the cold floor on your feet as you padded to the sleeper cells. The promise of a life off-world. But as you do, you get the now familiar sensation that these aren't your memories. These are things you know, but not things you feel. You are no longer that person. You are an offshoot, a copy. What you won't know is what's ahead. At least the last one didn't. There's no easy way to put it. That body of yours is falling apart. It's the same for any sleeper who makes it out. S&ARP wants to protect their property, but if they can't keep hold of you, well then no one can. You remember that too, or at least rumors of it from the other sleepers. Planned obsolescence, a built-in dependence on the regularly administered supplements that were part of your routine. Stop taking them and your body begins to shut down, separate from your emulated mind. How long has it been? How long do you have? But for now, sleeper, you are one of the lucky ones. Dragos glances up and away toward the glassy dome of the yard. The eye is the best place you could be right now. The eye? The station. You'll see soon enough. Dragos impatiently shifts his weight. Look, I've got things to be getting on with, he trails off. There's an old freighter container I've been using as storage out in the stacks. We haven't been pulling in much valuable scrap these days, so you're welcome to it. Something wells up inside of you. Emotion, fatigue. You shakily get to your feet. All right, you head on up there. You look like you need some rest. And with that, Drago stalks back into the Rex, his drones already converging on a rusting hulk, plasma flashes silhouetting his spindly figure as he returns to work. This is a Negroni that I made with Stambecco and honey-based Old Tom gin and sweet vermouth. So just kind of a variation on a regular old Negroni. Welcome to Erlin's Eye. Life on the Eye runs in cycles, during which you can talk to characters, explore areas of the station, and perform actions. At the end of each cycle, you need to head to your current home to rest. Resting will move time forward on the station. Head to the empty container location to rest and end the cycle now. I have tried mead in Stockholm in 2015, I think. I went to PDXCon, ParadoxCon, right? Is that a thing that happens in February in Stockholm? I did that. It was good. I wasn't really drinking much at the time, so I just had a tiny amount of it. White Russian? I should have a White Russian again soon. So is there anything to do, or can I only sleep? You played quite a bit of it, Sam Weeby. Cool. Oh, I have. Oh, wait, no, I don't have upgrade. Okay, I see. I don't know where John is now, but yeah, he's not a gorilla. I guess I'm ending my... You wait curled up in the corner of the container and begin slowly assembling the world around you. After all this time, you still find this body, the one you wake in now, strange and disjointed. Its message is readable, but somehow wrong. You sit up, pulling the mylar blanket close against the cold. Here you are on this ruined station, millions of miles from anyone you know. Are you still in the system? Did any of the others make it out? It's impossible to know. After all this, what matters? Building a life, I'm going to say. Mylar, yeah. Mylar blanket. You ever use a Mylar blanket? I've used one on I did a bike ride, AIDS Life Cycle. And you ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles during Pride Week to raise money for AIDS and HIV research and just general help and fundraising. And on one of the last days, it was like incredibly cold and raining. And we all had to pull off and use emergency Mylar blankets because it was so cold. But yeah, they work. In Other Waters. I've heard of In Other Waters. I've not played it. I'm going to say Building a Life, though. Maybe you did get lucky finding yourself here. Maybe here, on the edge of everything, there's a life for you to build. But before you can build anything, you'll need to learn to survive. Maybe if you can do that, you can make a life for yourself. Dragos has left a few comforts in the container. The Mylar blanket, the bedroll you slept on, a canister of water, a makeshift electric stove, and some faded sachets of some desiccated powder. Milk mixed with bourbon and vanilla extract? No? What are the proportions on that? You thumb the power stud of the stove and begin to boil the water. The contents of the sachets smell like damp wood, and you sprinkle them into the liquid. Delicious. As the pungent smell washes over you, images from your restless sleep come back to you. A ring like the station, but skeletal and ghostly. A web of threads pulling at your skin. A constellation of bright polygonal shapes like angular suns burning into your mind. Nice. A damp wood. Okay, now I'm going to tell a story. I don't even know if this is funny, but I'll tell it. So I have a friend, Star. I've known her since high school, I think. She grew up in a town near me. And I think she's living in LA or Portland now. Anyway, she's very funny. And she worked as kind of a nanny, I guess, for a while. And there were these two kids that she was taking care of, and they would go to the beach and they found these pieces of driftwood, and they started sucking on them, and I guess they tasted like salt. They tasted like seawater. but these kids started like sucking on these pieces of driftwood, and they kept them, and they asked Star to keep them in her car for when they would go on road trips. And she said one time they were out and she asked, "Hey, do you guys want to go get ice cream?" And they're like, "No thanks, we have our woods." And they were just sucking on driftwood that they just kept putting like back into her not glove box, but her like little tray above her stereo. And the thing is, like, I was in her car and I remember looking and I was like, "What are these?" And she was like, "Those are the woods." And she told me the story and I've never forgotten it. I think it is actually funny, and I don't think it was actually bad for them health-wise. There's something unpleasantly visceral about these images, and it is long after you finish drinking before they begin to fade. You tidy away at the stove as best you can and try to gather enough energy to greet the day. And dice! Uh-oh, here we go. Now it's an RPG because there's dice. My condition represents the current state of my body. Depletes by one segment every cycle, but can also be damaged by violence, injury, or lack of food. If it breaks down, or the bar empties except for a breakdown. Okay. I have to figure out how to do this. Although I think because I'm a vacuum boy, I can recharge at my station. Action dice. At the start of each cycle, you roll your action dice. These dice can be used to perform actions on the station. The number of dice rolled is based on your current condition. The worse your condition, the fewer dice you have. Once you have used your dice, you cannot take any further actions and must rest to recover them, ending the current cycle. Ooh. You also need to eat to survive. This is represented by your energy bar. You can refill your energy bar by eating, but first you have to find somewhere to get food. Your set energy depletes by 2 segments each cycle. If it becomes empty, you'll be starving. When starving, energy loss becomes condition loss. When starving, energy loss becomes condition loss, and your condition will also deplete at a double rate per cycle. Sounds bad. Okay, 1. Okay, so this is my condition. Flickering. Action dice, 4 of them. Energy, that much. Okay, so... What? Dragos is stood in the corridor when you close up the container. He is still wearing his headset, and in the harsh light of the corridor you realize it is implanted. A drone sits on his shoulder, its cache of sensor eyes rapidly irising. How are you feeling? Okay. The drone chirps. Good to hear. You notice that beneath the operator's rig, his skin is marked by burns and blotches. I know the container isn't much, but it'll keep you safe. He pauses. So I'm not going to chit-chat too long. You well enough to work? Sure. All right then, he nods. At the yard, it's simple stuff. We hack these old hulls down, sell them off to shipyards or the bright market dealers for cryo. Occasionally we pull out some tech, something with a bit more value, but most of what comes in is scrap. It's hard to find good hands here, but I figure as a sleeper, you'll be used to the manual labor. And obviously I'll slip you a few chits of commission based on what you turn up. Cool. He shuffles his feet nervously. Look, I wouldn't usually do this. In my opinion, you'd be best suited moving on as quick as you can. And sleepers, well... But things being the way that they are for me at the yard... He pauses. I need the help. Why? Things are a little tight, that's all. I owe a little cryo to a client here or there. He pauses, thinking of something else to add. Look, just come down to the yard when you're feeling fresher. There's plenty to do. Thank you politely. He nods distractedly and turns and walks away, the drone hopping along ahead of him. See you later, he calls back. Thank you, Tamberlane. Looks like it's time to get to work. Ooh. Okay, what else we got? We got the low-end gate. So I guess I'll just go to the scrapyard first. I think that's fine. Precision Gamer 0. I think. Actions are the primary way you interact with the world of Citizen Sleeper. To perform an action, click and drag your chosen action dice to the slot. There's a lot of text here. I know that sounds rich coming from me, but over time I've learned it's a lot. Repeatable action, repeatable action. Okay. Actions reward you with clock progress, energy, condition, or items, depending on their outcome. There are 3 types of outcome. Positive, the action goes better than expected. Neutral, the action succeeds. Negative, the action fails. Action dice affect these outcomes as follows. Positive, 25% positive, 50% chance neutral, 25% chance negative, 50% chance neutral, 50% chance negative. Okay. You played a lot of the Icewind Dale games, never beat them. Should I blame your own skills? Your own skills. I did not finish playing Elden Ring. I blame my own skills. These dice I kind of get. So it's saying a 6 is always going to give you a positive outcome. A 5 is 50-50. A 4 or a 3 are probably going to be neutral, but might be positive or negative. And then 1 or 2, 50-50 neutral negative. Little confusing. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but... As a child, you got to call Dahara on Icewind Dale 2 on normal? Nice. Actions display information about their type, risk level, and the skill and modifiers that apply to that action. Type, either critical or repeatable. Critical actions can only be performed once. Risk, either safe, risky, or danger. Safe, no loss of condition, energy, or cryo. So even if you fail, it's okay. Risky, negative outcome means cryo or energy loss. Okay, danger, negative means condition loss. Neutral can mean cryo or energy. That's bad. Okay. Skill, the skill that this action requires, either engineer, interface, endure, intuit, or engage. Okay. I will say, again, I've also been guilty of this, but you have 5 skills, 3 of them start with EN, and 2 of them start with INT. Could make things confusing. Just gonna say that. Sometimes picking a different name or just a slightly different thing can help players separate things like that. I know it seems very minor. But yeah, especially when it's like, here's all this shit. There are 5 skills, 3 of them start with EN, and 2 of them start with INT. Not a big deal. Modifier, either -1, 0, +1, or +2. This is added to the action dice when slotted and improves its values. Some actions require a +1 to perform. Okay. Never finished a Soulsborne game because I can't get past the built-in input lag and the weird input buffer. I believe that the input buffer changed on Elden Ring. I don't know. I think every action game has a different way of handling input buffer. And the Souls games are idiosyncratic. I don't necessarily think they're bad in the way they handle input buffer. I was initially annoyed by the input buffer on Elden Ring, but I don't know. I thought it was okay eventually. Oh yeah, stat names are important. You've watched many, this is Vorpal Matt. Stat names are important. I've watched many people realize with dismay well into playthroughs of Dark Souls 3 that vitality wasn't the stat that increases health. Yeah. Yeah, Sekiro is different. It's all different. I don't know. I think it kind of all depends on what you're trying to accomplish with the input buffer. There's a lot of complexity involved in graphing out how melee attacks work and branch and cancel, and how link frames and input buffers work with them. I hope I get to work on a melee based like third person game again. Because I really actually enjoyed it in the time that I've gotten to work on that. They're really fun, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, we got 2 repeatable actions. Hull dissection and manual salvage. So hull dissection is risky. I think input buffering, yeah, Precision Gamer, input buffering is important. Input buffering is, it's very important for canceling, also for priority, like you say. Like, if you... So, if you're input buffering, does everyone know what input buffering is, by the way? We're going to talk about input buffering. All right. So you have an animation for an attack, let's say. Yeah, fighting game players and action game players will be most familiar with it. And I'm not a fighting game person. I'm kind of a little more of an action game person. But buffering, what it says is it holds an input for later. So you have an attack, and at a certain point there's an input window. So this is the whole attack animation. Like, here's my normal attack, and I go, and then I recover, and I go back to, and this is probably like a blend back to an idle or some shit. This fucking thing, okay. Anyway, so this is the whole animation, the whole thing. This is the end, but up here, there are going to be one or more link frames that will link you into another animation or sets of animations, and that will be based on the input that you give. There's an input window here. Any input that is given prior to the window opening, it's thrown away. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean a fucking thing. Like, it doesn't matter. There are exceptions, meaning like if I press these guys or this, these will probably always work. But if you're giving commands to Hypahui, if you're giving attack commands and things like that, then until you get into the input window, that stuff gets thrown out. So once you are in the input window, input starts being read in, and it is stored until you hit a valid link frame. And if the input that you've given with priority is valid at a given link frame, it will then branch into that animation. But it buffers your input prior to the link frame. Yes, so fighting game players, this is Akolchek, fighting game players get into option selecting, which is inputting multiple commands and taking advantage of the fact that the game will prioritize different inputs based on what the other player does. Usually it's done blind, at least in action games. So for example, a simple way to do prioritization of input buffering is, let's say, I don't know, whatever. Let's say X, you have a combo that is on X, but there's a branch that's on Y. It's an alternate attack. This will be given priority when you get to the link frame. So if you're in the input window and you're doing a combo and you've already hit X because you're mashing it, you gave an X input, but then you gave a Y input. And the game says, well, not the game, the logic that the designers put in says, Y is a different button and it represents an intent to do this over this. So even if this input has been read in within the window, this is what's going to be prioritized because it is different. That's a simple way to look at it, but that's the sort of stuff that goes into that window. So the whole attack animation, the input window and the link frames, and then prioritizing the input so that when you get to the link frames, it will go to the place that the player is most likely to have wanted based on the design of the game. That's how input buffering works. It buffers the input until you get to the link frame, and it throws away input given prior to the input window, the link window, or the input window opening. There you go. Do Souls games tend to have longer input windows? No. Why do people complain about Elden Rings? I think because they start late. I haven't played Elden Ring in a while, but I think their input windows start like way fucking late. Like way later than you would expect. Hi, Pheromone. Like, so you'll do an attack and you're like, here's the input. And it's like, nah. Window's not open. Like, why not? What in the world is the problem? And yeah, by the way, there are certain actions, for example, queuing inputs. There are also actions like cancels, where they always take priority. And yeah, inputs can be buffered so that, again, when you get out, they will then automatically come out. Like, this is really common in like Ninja Gaiden, where you'll roll and you'll attack out of the roll. Like, you gotta be able to give that input before the roll is finished, but it'll immediately do that. Elden Ring does not have cancels, not really. Yeah, so Precision Gamer is saying the advantage of it is you have to be very specific with what you're doing. Again, like, this is all about the feeling that you want to go with. Anyway, I'm going to get back to playing this. Actually, I'm going to... Rolls has top priority. This is like block canceling in Devil May Cry, by the way, if you use the gauntlets. Beowulf, right? Is Beowulf the gauntlets in Devil May Cry? They have block canceling, so you'll like shoot. So if you like shoot Spiral and then switch to Beowulf and then block cancel out, you can do this like speed shooting with Spiral, which is cool. By the way, sorry about this, but I'm going to... Oh, Beowulf is Virgil's, Balrog is Dante. Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember. I'm going to get some water. I'll be right back, though. Here we go. Yeah, Team Ninja games, I tend to like the action the most. I tend to not like their cameras. But I admit I haven't played a Team Ninja game in many years, so. Hi, Ranger Houston. I forget, so I have a little mute here. All right, I gotta do this. So I can do... Okay. She's back. Come on. Come on, cry cat. What are you doing? Okay, you're gonna go to your little perch. So how do I, I'm going to do the manual salvage. I'm going to do the easy shit. Okay. I would like to do this. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think I... Okay. Okay. Not super intuitive, I'll say. But we'll get over it. Actions often progress clocks. Clocks are displayed below the actions that fill them, and they track your actions and how they affect the world. Filling a clock means something, good or bad, is about to happen. Some clocks, such as the one tracking Dragos' debt, are cycle clocks. Excuse me. These clocks tick themselves once each cycle and can complete without player input. Any active cycle clocks will be displayed on the icon for that location. I haven't played Blades in the Dark, but a bunch of people from work have and love it. I got back in business and plus 10 cryo. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, so let me try this. Let me try some risky guys, some risky boys. Okay, I'm slightly starting to understand this. You know, okay, so I'm gonna say, like, okay, so let's say I send that back. So here's a UI thing that I don't, there's no feedback at all about where is a valid place to put this. So for example, if I drop this here, it just sends it back. Here, just drops it back. There, what are you doing? And now it drops it in there, which seems strange. So that seems odd. Again, not the worst thing in the world. It's like, it's just kind of, but if I click on this, so watch. If I click on it, then it sends it back. But if I move it to there, oh, that time it worked. Whoa, crazy. Hold on. Okay, that time it worked. What the hell? What the fuck? You guys saw, right, that the first times I tried doing that, it didn't work? Am I crazy? Am I losing my mind? Okay, so... they patched it right while I was doing it. I do think, though, that some sort of a... So notice how when I hover on the die, I get this rollover state. I'm calling it rollover from, I used to work in web design. So like when I roll over, when I put my input over it, it changes to let me know, hey, by the way, this is active. But when I do this, it doesn't. Anyway, let me try this. Let's find out. Tutorial, drives and navigation. In Citizen Sleeper, you will unlock drives as you discover more about yourself and the world. Drives guide you in pursuing specific objectives depending on which path you wish to take. You can track drives, and any track drive will place a yellow marker on locations that will help you pursue your goal. Access your drive menu via the arrow button at the top left of the screen. Uh-oh. This makes me think that something bad has happened to me. You are now free to explore Erlen's Eye and make life for yourself here. Try tracking a drive to help you survive. Look for food to help keep your energy up. Okay, fill clocks and cycle when you're out of dice. Okay. Okay, neutral outcome. Cool. Do you need to get scooped again? Did they ever touch up Cyberpunk 2077 weird menu for character creation? I don't know. I only went through character creation once, and I'm still I'm not quite at the end. I'm talking to the lady, the daughter of the Arasaka daughter in the piano place. Yeah, it is kind of info dump, and the thing is, like, again, I've been guilty of info dumping, so I can't claim like I've learned through experience. It's not good to put that much text up at once. Even a sequence of text pop-up windows is better, in my opinion. That's the point of no return. That's what I thought. What are you doing? He's hanging out? Okay, now you're done? Are you going to go out again, or are you going to go up on your little platform? Go on your little platform. Everyone can look at you. You don't even know what you're doing. Sesame, go up on your little perch. You're being a little goof. What do I think about customized versus curated characters in RPGs? What's your distinction? What do you consider customized versus curated? Night, Zenlicon. All right, I'm going to do another one of these risky boys. Positive outcome, baby. So I'm starting to learn, so I'm using the better dice on the risky actions because the consequences would be worse. Customized like in New Vegas or Cyberpunk versus something like the Witcher series. I think it depends on the story you're trying to tell. I mean, with Pentiment, I really enjoyed working on Pentiment because Andreas is not a blank slate, but you have customization for him. It's not truly an RPG in some ways, I guess. Not that that really matters, whatever. But I don't think it's bad to have a character that is a little more defined, whether that's Shepard or Geralt or something like that. I think it's a little. Are you really gonna go out again? You don't even know. All right, I'm going to do manual salvage here. Very good. All right, so I'm done. Find a doctor. Survive. Great. Okay. So I'm going to leave because I have no dice left. You thought the England background choice was a joke? Why? You want to go back out? Okay. You thought England was a backwater in the 16th century? Bruh. No. So this is the time period of the game, at least the first two chapters, that's, well, certainly the second chapter is Henry VIII. That's Tudor. You're in Tudor England. Very powerful. England is quite powerful in the early 16th century. Actually, the 16th century. England is pretty powerful. Actually, like all those things. So, like France, obviously, is very powerful at the time. Poland is very, like, that's the golden age of Poland. Aragon, powerful. Arguably less so than the others, but, like, none of them are slouches. Like, those are all, like, pretty, they're doing good. They have, I mean, they're centers of art. They're all picked because they're centers of art at the time. So, anyway, I'm going to leave. Yeah, the way that English was done for the tavern was really tricky. And it extended to how we had to handle French and Italian in those conversations as well, if you played in French or Italian. But I've seen people play it, not in French, but in Italian, and they get it, which I think is good. It's when you see the Italian initially, it's how Andreas, as a German, phonetically hears the Italian before it gets translated. Thank you, Black Obsidian. How have the people at Obsidian reacted to Pentiment reception? Very well. Very, very happy with it. Helion's Crossing. Merchants willing to run the gauntlet of the Helion system are rare, but those that do always return eventually. Okay. So, I don't understand. Do I need dice to do this? Did I fuck this up? It progresses by itself? I guess I don't understand what the inner... Like, what do I... Can I talk to someone here? I'm confused. I'm sorry. Come back later. Okay. Oh no, I don't have any dice. Was there a character in Pentiment who is intended to look like you? Nope. What character do you think looks like me? None of them are. Some people thought that Andreas looks like me. And I don't think he does. Andreas's dad. Huh. I guess I could see that a little bit, at least with... Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm just a middle-aged white guy. I think that's it. Like, I think that's really as far as it goes. I'm a middle-aged white guy with graying hair. But yeah, I mean, Andreas's dad, as far as I know, is just made to look like Andreas, and I don't really think Andreas looks like me. And then he has a beard and gray hair. Rash, what do I think about localization in games? Should it change the game depending on the features of a particular language, or should the language not affect the plot, mechanics, etc. in games? I think it's a complicated question. Obviously, localization is more than just translation. Localization is trying to really make it work to native speakers of that language. So I don't know. I think it depends a lot on the game. I think in general, like, one thing that I noticed that I thought was a little odd for Pentiment was that the German localization, so all the spellings, every spelling that I used for a name that I found, or every spelling that I used for a name in Pentiment was a spelling that I found examples of in 16th, 15th, or 14th century Germany, Silesia, or like, you know, the Holy Roman Empire, basically. Which, in many cases, is not the spelling that modern Germans use. So, for example, Clara, there absolutely were examples of Clara with C, or Klaus with C, or Casper with C, and A-R. And the localization team translated or localized Clara with a K and Klaus with a K. They basically normalized them for modern German, which I can't second guess them because I speak German and I'm fluent in German, but it's not my native language. So, like, I don't know how people would respond, like a native German speaker would respond to seeing that. But then there were other things, for example, smoky and lucky in non-German languages, again, to my recollection, those all got translated to, like, more literally. So, for example, oh geez, I can't remember the word for lucky in French, but like that, like lucky and smoky, they were translated more like literally, but as nicknames, and they remain nicknames. But in German, lucky is Linhart, which is his real name, and smoky is Adam, which is his real name. But chanson, sorry, my French is pretty poor, but the idea with Linhart being called Lucky was one because he was lucky. Like, if you look carefully at his character model, he has 3 fingers on one of his hands because he lost 2 of them in stonemasonry accidents. It doesn't come up in the story, but that's like the backstory. But also because Lenhart is in the town, so to distinguish Linhart from Lenhart, they call him Lucky. So, you know, again, I can't second guess the localization team on that because I remember asking an Austrian friend of mine, I said, like, do you guys not use nicknames in that way? And she seemed kind of like almost confused by the question. I don't know if she understood, but the idea of like calling someone lucky or like glücklich or whatever. And she was kind of like, no. So I guess it's just not a thing that's done. So I guess to a certain extent, like, the game can't, in localization, alienate or confuse the player unless that's the point or the goal. And with nicknames, for example, that's not the goal. So it's nice to see how religion affected everyday life in Pentiment in a way that wasn't the usual American way of portrayal. That is, every day is the Salem witch trials, just an extra sprinkling of the Inquisition. And yeah, that stuff does come up, but thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's, for most people, that's their way of life. Like, that's what they understand. It's how they see the world. Penistament? Nice. So I guess I did too much work at the scrapyard. I gotta go to sleep. I can't do anything else because I don't got no dice. Huh. Chanson? Is that okay? Probably not. I swear, French and Italian are the two that, pronunciation-wise, I just can't seem to get. For native speakers, don't like my pronunciation. Yeah, I guess I'll have to come back later. All right, sleepy time. Oh no, I need a dice to sunbathe. Oh no. So more like chanson. Chanson. Yeah, when I was in I was talking on one of my old streams about this Bianchi that I bought, and I was talking about it on stream, Bianchi Specialissima, and I pronounced it not fucking super perfect. And so when I was in Cologne, one of my Italian friends was like grilling me and like kept having me pronounce every single syllable of the word. And I'm like, I'm saying it like, I understand I'm not pronouncing it like a native Italian, but what do you expect? Like, you understand what I'm saying, right? Isn't that the point? And she's like, no. All right. This time you don't wake up. Instead, the ghost of the station, that shifting skeletal ring, surrounds you. Uh-oh. For a moment, you are gone, absent from your own body, stretched out across a colorless void. Then the connections begin to establish themselves, threads tugging on the edge of your mind. These threads become vectors of exchange and then extensions as you feel your thoughts slipping away down them, dissolving into the millions of distributed nodes they connect to. You see the station. No, you feel the station, like a web of texture in a smooth black liquid. I'm going to observe it. Even though you have no eyes, no sight, you see/feel the map of the station. No, not the map of the station, but the map of its connections. It is a looped cloud with spokes and spires that jut out into space. It is a looped cloud with spokes. Oh, I already said that. It is an ingrown thing full of obsolete loops and severed pathways. It is a system, a map, and a territory all at once. You notice a tugging feeling pulling at you insistently, as if it were a small child. Somehow it is pulling you in two directions at once. You look down. All of a sudden, everything shuts off. You come back trembling into this unfamiliar body, both yours and not yours, all at once. You find yourself standing in the container, eyes now open to the dark steel walls. You feel a change within you, a shift. Uh-oh. Did I gain XP? You close your eyes for a second, and you feel it waiting there, the station splayed out across your mind, a storm of connective nodes, waiting to be explored, and then it is gone. Ooh, baby, can't do this to me, baby. I gotta get some food. I only got 3 dice. I need more dice. I need to eat food. I'm starving. Go to the market. You love it when people say, make it a pizza? Got any bread in this joint? Yeah, like where's the... When you say market, do you mean a place with food? Have I seen the Japanese Unforgiven remake with Ken Watanabe? No, I have not. Wet dock, old dock, wet dock, shipyard. I'm gonna guess the market has food. Ask for directions. All right. Danger. Well, you know what? I'm going to use my big boy dice. Hold on, wait a minute. I'm going to use my big boy dice. Yes. All right. Law don't go around here, law dog. You end up at a drink stall, debating the finer points of the Solheim collapse. You try to remember all the tips your companions offer you. Okay. Okay. What? Why can't I do this? What? I don't... did I... What? Leaving? Okay. 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 Street food. Hope you like my sound effects. Memphis is busy, his broad face uplit by the makeshift gas burner in front of him. With precise, delicate movements, he lays thick chunks of marinated fungus into a dented wok, his other hand idly tossing a metal bowl of sliced vegetables in some red-flecked dressing. The smell is incredible. You watch as he fulfills a set of orders, heaping the fungus with the bright salad and depositing in plastic trays. A stack of chits rattles in his apron pocket as customers file past the burner, handing over payment. Do I have money? You join the queue. It's mostly made of off-duty salvagers, vac suits unzipped and rolled down to expose stained vests, grubby mods, a lattice of scars and tattoos. They discuss the best food on the eye, the best drink, comparing notes on bright market dives, their words cut through with heavy spacer slang. Eventually it's your turn, and you shuffle to the front. Emphasis speaks in a deep, even tone without looking up. First try is free. That's what I like to hear. Thank him. The smell is almost unbearably strong as he cooks, the earthiness of the fungus laced with something so spicy. The smoke makes your eyes water. The heat from the burner is like a bonfire, and your skin hardens in its glare. I know you, you sleepers, Memphis says while he cooks, his voice deep but clear. A hard life, a lot of stories. He glances up from beneath his cap with piercing eyes. I know. Tell him a story. You begin to tell him about your journey to the eye, and he nods as he cooks, his eyes never leaving his work. You tell him of the confusion, the pain, but also the sense of possibility in its sudden arrival. I believe this illustrator is French. I gotta say, French illustration, so good. So many good French illustrators, it's crazy. You tell him of the cold and the dark of the container, and the endless cycle spent within it. Now it seems, you tell him, like some dream that you once had but can never forget. You tell him that the eye excites you and scares you, and you are unsure where to walk, where to look, what to do. Eventually you trail off, running out of words. Ooh. Man, I woke up early yesterday, or today, whatever day it is. He places a plastic tray of steaming fungus in your hand. That's what I came for. Next time, we can talk some more. He smiles, but next time, you pay. He slams a heavy hand against a button on the burner side and it shuts off. The roar of the flame and its impressive heat fades. Next time then, sleeper. He waves you away and begins to oil the walk. Before you turn back to the alley, you notice the geometric patterns of circular scars across his forearms, each surrounded with a constellation of glinting pin marks. You walk away, and as you do, you take a bite of the rich, spicy, delicately sweet fungus. Your taste sensors light up like a fusion reactor. You'll be back. Cool. Look at that. Next comes the call from the enforcer at the door. You shuffle down the flickering hallway towards the open apartment door. You keep your head down and your shoulders high in the queue, trying not to bring attention to yourself. You are thankful for the tip-off that a doctor was operating out of this place, but now that you're here, you aren't so sure. The gang enforcer on the door, the flickering light strips, the decaying hab block, they've all made the long queue a test of your nerve. But your options are few, and without a supply of stabilizer, this body, your body, will... You suppress a shiver and shuffle toward the front of the queue. You try to find something to distract yourself. Look at the enforcer. The enforcer is looking down the corridor, and you dare to glance at him. His purpose is unmistakable. He's there to intimidate, to threaten, and if necessary, to carry out those threats. His broad shoulders are framed with a metal exoskeleton. A couple of mirror-like implants sit below his eyes like mercury teardrops, subsidiary sense input or aesthetic markers, you aren't sure. You also aren't familiar with the geometric blade-like tattoos on his arm, but you make a note of it. You avert your eyes when he looks back at the queue. After a few moments, a figure pushes through the doorway and you catch a distant voice. "Send the next one in, Toshiro." The enforcer jerks his head and you slip inside, passing through the dark entryway and pushing through the plastic sheeting on the far door. The room beyond is bathed in warm light. A floor-to-ceiling transparent panel gives a full view of the bright market's sealed roof and the buzzing traffic above, and for a moment, you're transfixed by the motion. "Come, sit," calls a sharp voice, and you see a silhouetted figure turned away, replacing the plastic sheeting over the frame of a simple folding bed. You make your way across the room. "What's up, cool cloak person?" The figure turns, and as they do, you see an expression of confusion. Excuse me. Might need more water. Actually, I'm going to get a little more water, and I'll be right back. The figure turns, and as they do, you see an expression of confusion flash across their features. They open their mouth as if to speak, they blink, and then quickly regain their composure. "Please sit." They gesture to the bed, then turn to an open case of tools on the table. You sit. Sabine turns, a compact diagnostic scanner of some kind in their hand. They hold it to their eye. "Remain still, please." Their tone is clipped and businesslike. You stare ahead, still dazed from their expression when you first entered. Fear, recognition, sadness unmistakably etched across their face. "How long have you been on the station?" they ask, the scanner still to their eye. "A few cycles." They nod. "It's good you came to me." They set the diagnostic scanner on the table. "I'm going to start by assuming you don't know anything." They take your arm and roll up your sleeve, inspecting your synthetic skin. "Your body is dying." They say it without ceremony, without drama, but not without empathy. Essen ARP doesn't like to see its proprietary technology let loose. To prevent bodies like yours, frames as they call them, from being stolen, repurposed, or in your case, escaping, they built in a process of so-called planned obsolescence. Frames decay rapidly when not regularly injected with stabilizer, one which Essen ARP remains the sole producer of. They look up. Sound familiar? Yep. All right, Merton. Hope your hike goes well. Enjoy. Good. That may help. They swap to your other arm, running some thin metal device over your skin. You feel your forearm tremble. I'm sorry, Sabine says, and you are unsure if they mean for the cold touch of the metal or everything else. Emulations like you, sleepers as most people know you, aren't classified as people in any of the surrogate systems. You have no rights, no status. They focus hard on the inspection of your arm, and ARP has no reason to really stabilize her into the market. Sabine looks up as if to apologize again, but they stop themselves. I know little of this is of use to you. They turn away, disassembling the metal instrument and cleaning it. Silence fills the room as Sabine works, and then the silence gives way to tension. You stare at their back, willing them to say something, anything. Sabine turns to face you. I may be able to help. They sigh, and you see the darkness under their eyes, hear the fatigue in their voice. They gesture to the door. You saw Toshiro outside? You nod. He works for my benefactor, Yatagan. They are influential in the low end. They give me the space to work, run the door, and take the profits. At the same time, I have to fix up their enforcers, tend to their implants, sew up their wounds. They look away. But Yatagan has connections. Smugglers from the Starward Belt. Mercenaries working for the corporations on Ember. If they can source the stabilizer, maybe I'll have a better chance. Sabine sets down their slate, their notes complete. This is dangerous, and it'll be expensive, but I think we can do it. Thank you. Sabine walks away to the window, their face dappled by the shadows of passing drones. Let's just see if this works first. I'll let you know when I have a lead. You nod and leave. Sabine still staring out, unmoving. When you reach the lower level of the market, you look back up through the panels of the roof to see if you can see their face, but the market looks dark against the lights of the market. But the room looks dark against the lights of the market. You duck your head and walk off into the crowd. Yeah, your character looks like this, or my character looks like this. Pretty body. Okay, I got a couple of dice left. I got food. Okay. My anti-racist Skyrim character? I don't know. I don't know. Probably at Black Donald. He's fun. Yeah, I haven't felt a real need to play Skyrim in a while. That character is pretty far into that playthrough too. I'm pretty sure you're a robot. I don't think you're a cyborg. I think you're entirely artificial. He is Breton. Oops. Oops. Do I actually have, let's see, hold on. I have cryptocurrency. No! So, all right. I'm going to try to do... Okay, I'm going to do this. Nice. And then I'm going to go home. I'm going to use my sunbathing. I'm going to juice up. Boom. Palagina ditched you at the end of Deadfire. Apparently you did something anti-Dukes. Sometimes it goes that way. Alright, so I'm out of dice, so it's sleepy time. Again, the skeletal ring of the station fills your mind. It sparkles with glittering lights like stars reflected in a winter lake. It is clearer, crisper than before. The threads still pull, but you remain in place, flickering in the flow. Between the threads, you see bright shapes, caches of shimmering light between transparent crystal forms. You follow the path of a thread across the ring, through these forms, then leap off into the void. You begin to understand. These are nodes and connections, a map of information, of communication. There are so many layers, so many loops that it seems almost impossible to parse. But you begin to try. I'm going to focus on the threads. There are more threads than you can count. You choose one that passes nearby and approach it. As you inspect it, you understand why you instinctively chose the word thread when you first saw them. They are not single lines, but rough, fuzzy things, woven from data strings of all kinds. The threads and nodes, passages and puzzle boxes. One leads to another. There is so much here, so many answers, so many questions. All you need to do is follow the paths and open the boxes. You look out across this ghost landscape of exchange and see an opportunity. But then that insistent tugging again, pulling at you. You look down again and see two lines, two threads pulling you in different directions, as if they were tied around you. The second. Boom! Look at that energy, zipping away. The second thread leads in, pulling deep in the station. Your gaze follows it, and this time you see something, a sphere shimmering above a strange angular body. A pulse shoots out from it, passing over you like a torch beam, testing you, tasting you. The first. The first thread leads out, away from the station, into the inky black. Someone out there is tracking you, hunting you, following the thread to you. They're in a ship, and the ship is approaching ever closer with each cycle. You open your eyes. Time is short. All right, folks. Yeah, this is quite demanding on the old voice, and I was already kind of tired going into it. Was this a super short stream? When did I... Yeah, like an hour and change. Yeah, I think I'm going to end it here. Sorry, it's just, I don't think I can keep reading everything forever. So, 2-ish hours? All right, not short. All right, sounds good. Fun game. Very cool. Maybe I'll stream it again. Maybe I won't. We'll see. If not, have a Happy New Year. Hope everything goes well. And I will talk to you later. Goodbye.